My...
double check. Can you hear water running behind me?
No, I don't hear anything from anyone.
If the cat fountain was too noisy.
No. And that's more important than this, so I would understand. Yeah.
By the way, Jess would recommend getting one of them.
A water fountain?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, I'll just add it to the list. I keep buying things.
No, our cats are a lot healthier and drink more water since we got it, so I'd recommend it.
Nice. Hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Sapphic Writers podcast. My name is Madelyn. I will be your host for this episode. I use she, her pronouns. I write all kinds of stuff about gay people. That's about all you need to say about it. And we are going to hear from our other contributors today. Let's go to Alice. What's going on with Alice?
Hello. Nice to be back. It's good to be here again. I'm Alice Godber. I use she, her pronouns, currently suffering with toothache, but I'm going to try my best today. I write poetry and perform spoken word, which usually focuses between grief and then also sapphic stuff, usually about my crushes and unrequited love.
Oh, yes. I also forgot today. The question of the day is, what is your favorite animal?
What's my favorite animal? I was going to say fish, but that's completely wrong. So
then don't say
that's
it.
why I was like, no. I was like, something to do with the sea. But that's like not an animal. So in which case I'll have to go for dogs.
Dogs, okay. I like
because
that.
I've got a really cute one.
Nice. Okay. Emrys, same to you.
Hello, I'm Emrys. I use they them pronouns. I'm sorry, I forgot what the questions were.
Anything you want to say about your writing?
Okay.
And then your favorite animal, which is the more important, right. Of course.
Okay, I will start that again. I'm so sorry. Hi, I'm Emrys. I use they them pronouns. I try to write amongst other freelance commitments, but sadly not getting paid from it yet. I founded Sapphic Writers in April, and my favorite animal is also probably a dog.
Okay, got 2 for dogs so far. Julia, make it different or also like dogs, whatever you want.
I will make it different.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Julia. I use she, her pronouns. At Sapphic Writers, I mostly coordinate the Sapphic soirees and work on the zines. Super excited for our fantasy zine.
More on that later.
I also write fantasy, which is why I came up with the fantasy zine idea. And I write poetry as well. A lot of also unrequited love stuff. Maybe someday it will be requited love stuff.
No. Maybe.
Foreshadowing.
I'm not holding out on my end, but I'm very hopeful for you, Julia.
Thank you. Everything I write is for like the lesbian elves,
yes.
The lesbian fairies, and
gosh,
my favorite animal, I'm gonna go with squirrels. I think squirrels have good energy.
I love that.
Wish I could run along wires.
I love that. I think you have like squirrel energy for sure.
Thank you.
In a very positive way, not like the eating out of the garbage way, unless you also do that. Okay. All right, Jess.
I'm Jess. I use they them pronouns. My writing is mostly creative nonfiction because I'm a blogger. So I just, write about gay stuff and myself. Yes. My favorite animal is a koala. It's always been a koala.
Nice.
And so find me at Quality Gay on like every platform ever. That's been that way since like 2011.
Do you think you like embody koalas at all?
I used to describe myself as lazy and never drink water, but I have since self-improved. I drink water.
Still lazy though.
Well, I work from my bed a lot. You know.
Which a koala would do given the opportunity, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Nice. Alice, do you think you like embody a dog? Is that you?
As in loves lots of attention and can sleep for, like my dog, 20 hours. I think the answer is a solid yes.
Okay. All right. Emrys, are you an actual dog as well?
No, to be honest.
You just think they're cute?
Listening to this conversation, I'm rethinking my answer.
Okay, let's see if we can get something different.
Cats
Then.
might actually be my favorite at the moment.
Cats.
We have a puppy and she's great, but I look at my cats and I'm just like, I remember how quiet it was. So I'm probably more cat, actually. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I like
What
that.
about you, Madelyn? What's your favorite animal?
My favorite animal is the fennec fox.
Oh.
Which is a little fox who they live in the desert and their ears are bigger than their heads.
Oh my God.
And I don't think I'm like them at all. I just think that's a great feature for an animal to have. They look like aliens and like someone was designing animals and like their hands slipped when they were drawing the ears. And they're like, you know what? Publish it. It's perfect.
Oh my
And
God,
that's
I'm
how I
looking
feel.
at a picture right now.
They're so cute. So everyone Google a fennec fox at this point so you can appreciate how ridiculous they are. And that's, that's right here. So yeah, that's all we had to talk about. Favorite animals. We're done here. No, just kidding. It is January, which means it's a new year, which means that we are obligated to talk about last year and the year going forward. So we're going to start it off talking about, writing in 2020, which was a weird time to be writing and just a weird time to exist at all. So I want to hear, what are you like proud of from your writing in 2020? What did you do? Is there anything you wish you had done? Let's, not like beat ourselves up too bad because it was like the worst time ever. But I want to just go to Jess and say, what was 2020 like for writing, Jess?
Well, it was something, that's for sure. It started with my girlfriend leaving at the end of January. So she lives in the UK. I do not. And when she leaves, I don't write for several months.
Oh, no.
I know. And then
Very poetic.
after she left, COVID happened. And I just didn't write actually at all, like for several months.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't even like upkeep my blog. It was a terrible time. Then November hit and I was like, by the end of July, I was thinking I have got to take advantage of Nano this year. I've tried it, but I have got to do it. It's got to jumpstart me because it felt like an all or nothing now or never kind of situation. I was like, if I can't get it together, maybe this is it for me. But Nano was a huge success in ways that I never expected. And yeah, I did it. I did my 50,000 words and
that is so
that
crazy.
was like the proudest I've probably ever been writing wise.
Hell yeah. Did you finish what you were writing or did you just do 50,000 words?
I did not. Yeah, I didn't finish what I was writing. I got about 3/4 of the way through the outline that I had planned for the book. But so yeah, I finished the 50,000 and I'm still working on wrapping up the last quarter.
Nice. Do you think that, you said that at first it was like really hard that you were separated from your lovely lady and COVID. Did that end up like turning around and like being not like a beneficial thing, but like did it stop being such a roadblock?
Did COVID help that?
Well, just like everything that had been preventing you from writing, like did that like stop preventing you from writing, or did you kind of just beat it?
That's a really interesting question. I guess I just beat it. I don't know, because the problems were still there. Like I stopped writing because I just like hit this wall with like my life and I was like really overwhelmed with work, and I write for other people with work, and I got this new client who, I don't want to bitch about her on here, but I really didn't like her. And so I was just really stressed out all the time, and I only just quit working for her like a couple of weeks ago. So like that problem never went away. I was like extremely isolated, which I think was just another issue that I don't know. There were a lot of like conflicting things going on in my life where I just like had no energy to get up and write anymore. And I think just the community around NaNoWriMo, and honestly getting involved with Sapphic Writers, which didn't happen until like the beginning of October,
Mhm.
maybe September. So getting connected with the community actually is what got me writing again.
Hell yeah. I love that. Join the
Yeah.
Sapphic Writers community. Follow our social medias.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's cool. I love that. Thank you for sharing. Alice, what was writing like in 2020 for you?
It's quite interesting actually. I'm sorry. There's a chance there may be some background noise just because my mum's washing machine has decided to come on, and like I'm pretty sure there's something wrong with it. Like the noise it makes is not normal. I've tried telling her, but she didn't. Whatever.
We can't hear anything
yeah,
currently, so.
So I only really started writing towards the end of 2019,
Mhm.
and so like 2020 really was like the big, well, the first half of it until about the first half. That was where I did the majority, like the most I've ever written. I was like get cranking them out, like and it was going really well. And obviously I was like going to loads of spoken word events, and then lockdown happened, and I carried on writing for a bit, but then I got ill with like suspected COVID, but I didn't get tested, but I was in bed for nearly like 2 weeks, hardly able to sort of do anything. And then sort of, I don't know, since then I've not really, it's a bit of like writer's block, I guess. I've just not really written much. I find it really hard. There's been like the odd one I've been able to write, but it's not been like what it was at the start. So I'm hoping that this year I'll maybe be able to like find my spark again. That's one of my goals.
I like that. Well, I'm sorry that it was troublesome, but you're certainly not alone in that. So at least we can all commiserate that some shit went down, to say the least. Yeah. Okay. We'll get to the goals part. We'll get to as well. But first, Julia, writing 2020. Go.
Yeah. So, like many people, I'm sure it was like a roller coaster. For me, I think like the defining thing was like I finished my undergrad like in the pandemic in April of 2020. So like I'd had like several years where I had been like writing, but like never had like the kind of like time that I wanted to be able to write, because I was in school and like very focused on that and like activism and like a lot of stuff that all just like completely stopped in that like period of time when the pandemic hit. And suddenly I had all this time and I didn't know what to do with it. And I was like unemployed and like no one was hiring because it was like the pandemic. And yeah, so I think so I decided, you know what, I'm gonna do the like July Camp NaNoWriMo thing because I had done NaNoWriMo once in high school, and it was the busiest one of the busiest months of my life, but it was like one that I remember is like one of the best, where I was like, I'm tired all the time, but it's like the best kind of tired.
Yes.
And I feel like alive, even though I'm like, you know, solely existing on like caffeine.
As it should be.
So I did it, and that like really I had been like starting to work on this new fantasy novel. I had like just recently like abandoned the fantasy novel that I'd been trying to write since high school and been like, this is garbage. I'm like starting over, something completely different. So I like got a huge jump start on that in July. I like finished Camp NaNoWriMo with my 50,000 word goal. And now I'm almost done typing my first draft. I hand wrote it first because I'm like, I don't know, low key, like living in 1800. I also spent a lot of time knitting and like baking bread. So yeah, I guess like that's like the main thing that I'm proud of. Like I don't know if it's any good. There's still like a lot of stuff that I have to figure out.
I'm sure it's amazing.
But like it's there. And I also like had the other kind of like main things, like I write poetry as well, and I had like tons and tons of poetry drafts that I'd been writing like all through school, and like had this like huge like messy like unrequited love thing that really like I was pouring into poems. But I'd never like figured out really how to like sit down and edit them and like make them good. And I was in like a poetry workshop class thing with a poet, Megan Folly, who like, and like this was in like October, November, and like completely like shift, like now I'm like, oh, I know how to sit down and go back to these poems and like make them decent. So I feel like I'm going into 2021 with like my work like cut out for me. I have like all of these drafts and all of this stuff to go through. So yeah, it was like, I mean, life was a mess, but like writing, I guess, in 2020 was pretty good for me.
Nice.
That's awesome. I'll put a pin in like all of that because we're going to come back to it. Look towards the future. But finally, we have Emrys, who's going to tell us all about how they did writing in 2020.
Yeah, so it started off really positive for me, to be honest.
Really?
I was writing loads, I was performing loads in Glasgow, and then the pandemic hit.
So I think that's the part of everyone's like, and then.
Yeah, and I am like fairly high risk, so I actually like isolated before everyone else. I isolated in mid-March. And obviously that stopped all the performing. But also my freelance career was like in the very beginnings of starting to take off. And I got recommended to this community food organization for my administratory skills and stuff, and got hired as an emergency administrator to deliver a COVID-19 food delivery project. So I had no time to write anything because I was working 50-hour weeks, and it was really hectic and it was quite difficult. And then things started to slow down and I had more time to write. I set up Sapphic Writers in April, which was amazing, and that definitely helped me write more, make more time for it. And now I'm really busy with freelance work and really burnt out, and I still don't have much time to write, not as much as I thought I would in 2020, but I'm hoping to write more as the so fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed indeed. Yeah, same for the most of this, honestly. Like, hey, it was going pretty well. Something happened. You may have heard about it. It starts with a C. I don't know. I had a job in early 2020 that I basically had like a 2 to 3 hour period in the middle of the day where I was able to just kind of write, albeit on my phone. So the formatting was terrible, but I was able to do something. And I was just like busting it out all the time. And then I stopped having that job when COVID happened. And then I moved across the country in the middle of the year.
Holy shit.
Yeah, during COVID, which is very unfun. Not that it's probably never fun, is my guess, is driving 1,300 miles, or however many kilometers that is for the other 3/5 of this Zoom call. And I've worked a crappy retail job because, as we have said, no one hires people during a pandemic. So my writing opportunities have gone down significantly. Unfortunately, I tried and failed NaNoWriMo as a way to like reinvigorate myself. I had like a National Novel Writing Week that went pretty well. So NaNoWriMo was great for Madelyn. And the rest didn't happen at all. So that's fine. That's fine. But I think joining Sapphic Writers when it happened, and then getting onto the team later on down the line was really good for just making me still always think about writing. Like, I don't think a gay goes by. Whoa, that's the audience like we're all here for. I don't think a day goes by that I don't think about like every single project that I have in the works writing wise, and just thinking like, okay, so here's what I want to do when I do it. You know, here's what I need to figure out. I feel like I have these bulletin boards in my head of like, okay, we need to adjust this scene over here. That word just simply won't work. So I just need to actually make the time go in the future to do that, but at my computer and not in my head while I'm at work.
Question, was
Please.
this November your first nano?
Yes, I had never tried it before.
I failed my first 4, so just throwing that out there.
Okay, so I've got 3 left to go.
Yeah.
That's inspiring. Thank
Yep.
you. I love that.
You're welcome.
Nice. Yeah, so everybody like mentioned what they want to do in the future, but I want to think like, does anybody have like concrete, goals for 2021?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Oh, okay. Jess is like, yeah, be in here. So we're just gonna go right to Jess. Jess, goal us up.
All right. So after I did nano and finished the 50,000 words, I was like, I have to have goals. I have to have very concrete steps. Otherwise, shit doesn't get done. So at the very beginning of the year, I set up my Trello board and I have like due dates for every chapter that I have left to write in my book.
Whoa.
Yeah. So the book, I could literally look it up on my Trello board. I think it's the end of March is when the last chapter is supposed to be finished. Yeah. And so the first due date was a couple of weeks ago and I met it. So the goals it was only the first one, but yeah, it was pretty exciting. And I set
That's
up
awesome.
like due dates for my blog posts as well. Because I'm usually pretty good about it, but I don't get paid to do that. So it's like, it always kind of takes the back burner.
Sure.
But I did assign goals and due dates and ideas. So hopefully, I'm just so very much into like new year, new me kind of thing. Like I really buy into that.
Nice. Oh my gosh, I love that. That's so cool. I know, and Jess, you're always the one that's like, okay, so here's like 7 new apps we can all get that will organize exactly when we do, drink water and go to the bathroom and have meetings.
Oh my god, it nearly it caused me so much like drama at one point because all of the days had moved over onto my iPhone diary, and so I had Sapphic Writers. I had an event on every single day for the whole year. It looked like anyway, because it included all of the months, all of but Black History Month and
Sure.
the library and so everything, but instead of it just being on one day, it was every single day, and so I was like, oh shit,
I'm gonna have time for this.
and so I was it really stressed me out. And I managed to find a way to have it so it's separate, so it's just on the Trello app now and not on my
I know when you
on my
posted
phone.
that question. You posted that question in the Slack. I was like,
It was
oh
a
my
bit
God,
of a panicked question. I'm sorry, I was so stressed out.
No, I could tell you were so stressed. And my sister is going to grad school right now, so I'm imagining her having to deal with that, and she would literally have a panic attack, and I didn't know how to solve the problem either.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh wait, not everybody wants to micromanage themselves, right? Okay, yeah, I gotta fix this.
Well, no, but it would have been okay. It was just the fact that it was something on every day, and so I couldn't even differentiate what was when, and so I don't know, because usually I color code stuff and I'll put in meetings really and
The
but
fact
I should have taken a screenshot because it gave me, I nearly had a panic attack. Literally, yeah, God, that was so. I'm stressing myself out right now.
And breathe.
I'm really tempted to do Jess's birth chart, if only because I'm pretty sure that they must have loads of Capricorn somewhere.
I actually don't. I don't have any Capricorn. No, I don't have any.
Where is this energy coming from?
I have a lot of Taurus in me, and Earth signs are just,
That's true.
yeah.
I'm a
As the
Taurus,
resident person who knows
not
nothing
organized at
about
all.
Okay.
Well,
Okay. Fabulous. Well, if
those who don't know, our team has 3 Tauruses, 4, including Cherry, who isn't around at the moment as much, and then just me and who are
yeah. I'm whatever a Libra does. I don't really know, honestly, but that's me. Wow. Okay. Well, if writing doesn't work out, Jess can always just like become all of our like life
Project manager,
writers.
producer.
Yeah. Just
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm trying to do, like with my life, and then I'm like, I'm really like not a great project manager. I don't tell anyone that because like
You
this
have a lot
is
of
what I'm
projects
like
to manage.
basing my whole MA on.
we'll
I
keep
literally
it.
my whole MA proposal I handed in was like, I'm gonna be like, I'm a producer, project manager, I'm gonna like set up my own business. And
Well, good thing this is going to get published on the internet for anyone to listen to. So,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fine.
It's our secret audience.
Sure. Nice. Julia, goals. Are you a goal person? Do you have specific goals? What's going on?
Yeah. So I'm a tourist, but I'm like a very old fashioned. I have like my paper agenda full of like paper goals. My like main thing is I want to have a final kind of draft of my novel that is like ready for like beta readers this year. And also like a book of poetry, because I feel like I can do it because I have so much raw material that I just need to like hone. And yeah, like I'm trying this like new thing where I just have kind of an ongoing like list on my laptop of like all my writing tasks, all the things I'm working on, and then every week I just like pick some, write them in my agenda. It's super arbitrary, but it's good to have goals. And yeah, it's been like working out pretty well so far. So yeah, if anyone's in the Facebook group, if at some point you see me being like, who wants to read this like big like gay fantasy novel, it's me.
Yes. Everyone's going to be in that. But yeah.
Julia, we should swap drafts at some point this year when we're both ready.
Yes.
I love
I would
it.
love that.
Nice. Emrys, do you have thoughts on goals and where you're going with that?
Well, not as
No.
much as Jess and Julia. I'm studying writing at uni at the moment, so that's good because I've got like deadlines for doing poems. Oh, pardon me. Sorry, I just need to yawn. Right, okay, it's done.
Get it out of the way, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm studying uni. I'm studying writing at uni at the moment, which is helping with having like consistent writing goals and making sure that I'm writing regularly. But for me, at least, and I know I'm very lucky to say that, but for me, 2020 was very career orientated. And I feel like I met all of my career goals, but I didn't look after myself as well. And so my number one goal for this year is to just take more time to look after myself. And sometimes that means not having set writing goals, and that's okay.
Yeah.
So I would like to do rejection 100, but that will probably not happen.
It could be like rejection 50 or something, you know?
Maybe, but I haven't even submitted anything, and it's nearly the end of January, so I don't think
I
that's
can reject you if you want. Get out. You're done. You're never gonna work in this town.
Guess that's it then. Bye, guys.
So that's one out of however many.
Yeah, so we're just gonna roll with it, see what happens.
Nice. I like it. I mean, I respect that. I think I always have like a bit of a dichotomy of I set a lot of writing goals, and then I think when I fulfill them, I'm usually writing worse. Like if I say, oh, I have to get this specific chapter of this book done, I feel like I'm bashing my head against a wall and I'm putting out whatever I need to get to like the next part. And I'm usually never a huge fan of it, and it gets changed a lot down the line. And then my ideal writing environment is I open a Google Doc and I'll write like 2 paragraphs of the first chapter and be like, oh, here's how this entire book ends, and then go write the entire ending. And then jump around, and it is a complete, you'll have a whole complete chapter, then it'll just be a little thing that says insert chapter here, and then everything is different. And I've written, like chapter 7. but it's all the best stuff that I write is those moments. So I am just I'm a very organized person who prefers to write in the most disorganized way possible. And
Love it.
then I get mad at myself later when I'm like, what was I talking about here? When I just wrote they fight. Like what is the outcome of the fight? I don't know. They just fight. That's just all that happens. So that's me.
That's an interesting thing to consider because I'm actually quite scared that this has happened to me. The whole like setting goals, does it lower the quality of your writing?
Mhm.
I am nervous to discover that this has been the result of my 50,000 NaNoWriMo, you know?
Mhm.
Because I was really writing to meet that goal. And I knew that while I was writing it, I was like, I'm going to have to come back to this. Like I had those conscious thoughts, which obviously you're going to have to come back to the first draft anyway. But I don't usually think that when I'm writing. Like I'm usually quite a confident writer. I'm like, I know this is going to be good. And I didn't feel that as much while I was working on the draft because of those goals, I think.
Mhm.
But I don't regret what I did either. That's easy for me to say now when I haven't revisited the draft, but I think without the goals, I would simply not have 50,000 words.
Yeah. I mean, you're a lot better off having that than not having it. And
that's what I think, but
well, I would say so. How many people don't have 50,000 words? Like I wrote 10,000 words for NaNoWriMo. And then that book that I was doing it for is kind of just sitting there. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to go back to it because I was like riding the high of it.
Yeah.
So you have 40,000 more words than I do on, in this instance. And I think how many people have 0 words? So you can always fix more words later. But for most people, I would say getting anything out there is like the hard part.
Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe, yeah, you're right. Because I think that is what I always struggled with before. And that's why I wasn't putting out as much work as I wanted to.
Yeah. We believe in you.
All right. Wow. I needed that today.
We will all talk up. You're right. It's the best fucking book I've ever read. Oh, I said the F word. Oh wait, it's an 18+ group. That's fine. As we've decided at our last meeting. So I think that it's okay if it's not perfect because I know for a fact that what I write is not perfect. My second draft, I would call like my book that I finished like on its like 1.5 draft, because there haven't been like significant major overhauls, but I have gone back and changed a lot of stuff, and it's like unrecognizable compared to the first time. So because it was really bad the first time. I like leveled up as a writer so much just from beginning to end.
Is this the one where you changed from third person to first person?
That's going to be the actual second draft of it.
Okay.
But it was more like going into it and being like, okay, let's change this paragraph, let's change this paragraph. And like I added, I think it's at like 70,000-ish words now.
Whoa.
And yeah, it's pretty long, which is cool. But it was like 62,000, maybe even in the 50s still when I first finished it. So it is like it's different. It's still like I would call it a different draft, but it's basically just editing what's already there. And I still like cringe like looking back at the first things that I wrote for it, because even just by the end of it, I had already gotten so much better that there was so much to the whole thing needed to be changed. So in short, it's okay. It's
fine. Well, that's kind of exciting to see how much you've grown just like working with the same piece.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine Julia will feel the same way, like when she's doing the poems stuff.
Oh yeah.
Is it hard to look back?
It's like yeah, it's so weird. I feel like I notice like the changes in my writing more so like with poetry than with my longer stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have like a big doc that just has every poem in it, and I will like it's so long, and like it starts with stuff from like the end of high school that like I never like look back on anymore, like right up to the present, and it's like, well, there was a long time like when I like didn't really know how to edit poems, where I just kind of like had these like cutoff points in my mind, where I was like, after this point up in that document, like I don't deal with these poems anymore because like I'm not that person. And then like I would, I'd go through something in my life. You can like see the change in the poems from like the first time I like actually fell in love and like started like writing love poems, and like everything like changes, and like how I'm like going, and like you can see the progress even in like the like poems that like weren't about that. But like now that I've like have committed to like figuring out how to like actually go back and like edit my poems, it's like so much more freeing, because I feel like I had this mindset with poetry that was like, there like every poem is like this moment, and if I like go back to it like way later, then it's like it's no longer like authentic to the moment, because like I'm not that person anymore. And like I've kind of used up like writing about that moment or that period or that scene, and I should just like go on to something new. Like that's done, it was just practice. And now I'm working on saying like, no, like even if the whole poem is like, I think of it as garbage, and like I would never like try to publish it in that form, like and I've like grown as a writer, and like I hate how it exists now.
Mm-hmm.
I love the process now of like going back and thinking, okay, what was I trying to say here, and like how can I like in this moment like still be like authentic to like what I was trying to say then, if I want to still say that, and like salvage it, or like take what lines were good and like use them in other places, or write something new about that like same moment or feeling.
Sure.
Yeah, sorry, that was like long-winded. But that was like a big like part of like my kind of like 2020 like writing growth, was being like, oh, I don't have to throw away everything that like I cringe at.
Yes.
Cool.
Cringe is so important. And I mean, Jess was talking about how the stuff that they wrote with like goals, like, got it, like I get this done at this time, having these very concrete deadlines. Did that like affect the quality of like, the book that you were about to be finished writing? Do you think that was influenced by it at all?
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this a lot. Madelyn, when you said the thing about how you're an organized person who like prefers to write in a very disorganized way, that like really, really resonated with me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like I feel like in my like kind of usual way of going about life, and like in my soul I'm like a lot like Jess. Like I have like my agenda and like all my tasks, and like like it's like very kind of like micromanagey. But like I'm pretty sure that like doesn't actually like, it's not really helpful for like my writing in a lot of ways. And I've spent like a lot of time like making all these goals that I just like could never meet, and just stressing myself out for like no reason, and not producing any good work, and just being like overwhelmed by all the things that I like wanted to do and like thought I should be able to do. So I'm trying this, like I've been like trying to like come up with some kind of like hybrid approach where like because I know like I'm a person who like needs goals and like needs plans, but like a way to like leave lots of kind of like room for kind of the actual like disorganizedness of like doing art and like like putting out like creative work. So I have like the big things that I'm working on, and I have like a document that has like all the like things that I want to do. Like it'll be like, write this short story that I like have notes for, or like make this book of poems, like big things.
Yeah, just do that this afternoon.
Yeah. Or like some of them are smaller things. Like it'll be like, I need a map of this country in like my fantasy world. I need to like sit down and draw this map.
Love drawing maps for fantasy world. It's
so much fun. So that's like my treat. I'm like, okay, you get to like do map making now.
Get to draw that.
But yeah, so then like every like this is my new 2021 thing, so we'll see how it goes. Is like I like look at this document every week on Sundays. I'll be doing that this afternoon. And like just plot out like a few things that like I think I can get done this week, so that like every day I kind of have a task and I feel like I'm like working towards these big goals. But if something happens and I'm like, I don't feel like doing my like poetry editing today because I'm really feeling like this chapter of my novel, and like I like know I can like put out I put out good work for that today, then I'll like leave the plan aside, because like the important thing for me is just like knowing that if I'm not feeling inspired, or like, you know, the poetic genius isn't like descending upon me demanding something of me, I have like a task that I can do, and like that will like just keep me making art.
Nice. I love that. It's a fabulously organized, disorganized way to do it. I love it.
Like, yeah, that is a really good way to do it. But then also, I just like, at what point are we overextending ourselves and like putting so much emphasis on productivity? Because that is definitely something I do. Like, if I'm like, I don't have the energy to do this task today, but that means I have to do these other ones.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and that's like, I don't have an answer to that. That's like my whole life.
It does. So Emrys and Alice, you're both still like writing like in an academic like way. I mean, not like writing essays necessarily, but like you're both still writing for school still. Do you think that, I mean, literally that is like a goal, is you have to do it so you get, you know, good grades and get to graduate. Does that affect, you know, what you're writing or the quality of it or how you feel about it? Whomever wants to go first.
Alice, do you want to go first? Or
Alice wants to go first. Alice goes first.
No. Emrys, you can go first.
All right, Emrys goes first. Final answer.
So I am lucky enough to be with the Open University, which is a really laid back online university. And to be honest, I don't really feel restricted with my writing, which is really nice. I still feel like I can write about what I want. Sometimes we get given prompts, but like, and obviously they like tell you, oh, you have to write a poem that's like this length or whatever, but it's not, no, I'm not finding it too restrictive. If anything, I'm just grateful for it, because I don't have the time to schedule regular writing into my day otherwise. And it gives me a reason to keep writing
For sure.
when I'm really busy with other stuff. So it's really nice. I'm also finding a lot of opportunities to kind of try and write in my other work as well. I work in the arts in general, so I often feel very fulfilled creativity wise, but I'm always kind of like looking for opportunities in the kind of work jobs that I already have to kind of keep writing. So that's nice as well. I wish I could say that I try and write every single day, but I just don't at the moment. But I guess that's just part of studying and overworking myself. So
Nice. Thank you for sharing. Alice, what about you? Miss MA.
Yeah, in terms of me, I guess like with the MA, it's more intense than it was, I guess, with my undergrad. But then it's positive in other ways, like because with this MA, I can literally I can purely focus on like what I'm wanting to do, like with my platform, and like grow it and develop it. But it's just then you end up sort of, I'm like doing that full time, and so I have found that I have less time to do other things, and writing I'm sort of doing less writing, but in other ways I sort of feel like with these sort of projects that I put out and that I organize, I should maybe find time to sort of join in a bit as well. Like, and with competitions, obviously I wouldn't enter myself into the competition that I'm marking, but not marking, judging. But you know, if we get a prompt, I'll maybe like have a go at it, which is good. I want to try and do a bit more of that. I think I need to just, I don't know, it's just juggling everything.
Yeah. And do you think like the quality of what you're doing is like affected by it, like having to sort out all that and having to like make sure this gets done by this time?
I mean, no, not really. No, I do think I quite like it. I mean, I'm really bad at being organised, but with this,
no.
I don't hear a lot of you sort of. You're not saying that I'm wrong. But with this, like, I have to be organized, and so I've got like these like rolling action plans, which are ridiculous, but like, never done a rolling action plan before, and I found that I do stick to it, and I check it, and so no, I don't think the quality's been affected. If anything, I think having sort of time limits and due dates and stuff, it makes me do it, I guess, but in a good way, like not in a bad way.
Good. We prefer good ways over bad ways here.
Yeah. Awesome.
So I feel like the conclusion we've come to is goals are good, and sometimes they might not be, but overall they're okay. And if you're gonna don't have a global pandemic if you can avoid it.
Yeah.
Because that makes it hard to do things. So to the best of your ability, everyone, stop having a global pandemic so we can all write more. if you can, if you have the time. Nice. I love it. Does anybody have any like points about goals and how you write with goals, or 2021 and what you're going to do? Anything left to say?
I do. I have one more thought just
Please.
about like NaNoWriMo, which is that like I like what y'all were saying about kind of like, is, the quality of my writing like as good if I'm like just kind of writing to like fulfill the word count. And I feel like for me, like the quality of my writing definitely like it might not be as quite as good all of the time, like during the month of NaNoWriMo. But like, and I wouldn't want to be in like NaNoWriMo mode like all the time, because I feel like my writing would be like garbage. But like having that like one sprint like once or twice a year, I found like super helpful, not even like just like in terms of kind of like jump starting my like ability, like just like that sprint of like getting as much done as possible that like that you're gonna have to go to later is like a really useful kind of exercise for me. And like I feel so like I've tried to like kind of put that into practice in like my kind of usual life or like my writing life, where like I'll pick like a focus for like a month or like a week, and just like kind of sprint on that and like worry later about kind of where it's going.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like I haven't really gotten to the editing stage of the book yet, but editing is my favorite part of writing. So yeah.
That's going to be a podcast topic. I could not disagree more.
So
I'm
excited that there's a lot of content to edit. That's what I'm excited about.
Lucky you. Nice. All right, let's wrap up real quick. Let's just shout out stuff that's coming up with Sapphic Writers. I'll say our first book club is going to be happening February 4th, which is a Thursday at 4 p.m. for Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. for whatever GMT stands for. And we're going to pick the first book we're going to read, and we're going to talk about what we're going to be doing. It's going to be super fun and super gay, and we're super excited to have you all there. So show up to that. I believe you can find more info on all of our social medias for how you're going to get it. Jess, what do you have to shout out coming up for Sapphic?
Always shouting out to my blog, which is alesbianinherlaptop.com. Other than that, nothing for me personally. Sapphic Writers, we are at Sapphic Writers on Twitter, Sapphic Writers Online on Instagram and the Facebook page.
Nice. Links will be in the description here on SoundCloud.
Oh, and come to the workshops.
Yes, workshops. When's the next one?
Next Friday.
Next Friday, the 29th.
Yes.
More details, again, social media.
Yeah.
Love it. Julia. Anything else?
Yeah, I was also going to shout out Sapphic Soirees.
Yes.
I am not on social media much. I'm Julia Silva on Facebook, and I do accept friend requests from like random lesbians online. So
I do as well.
Okay. This is now the Get Alice and Julia Girlfriends podcast. So if you're listening,
can that be a podcast topic?
they know how to set goals, ladies.
Oh my goodness.
Sometimes.
Yeah, for Sapphic Writers,
Zines. We have zines.
zines, yes, the zines. How could I forget?
How could you forget?
The upcoming our Valentine's zine submissions close at the end of January. So please send us all your like mushy love poetry. We want to read it.
Yes.
Live vicariously through it.
Some of us. At least.
And the fantasy zine that I mentioned at the beginning is also open for submissions and closes mid-February. So if you have like adventure fantasy stories about like gay pirates,
Who would have that?
Or any and it's like we're conceiving of fantasy like very broadly, so anything, interpret it however you will, and I'm so excited to read all of your
baby. So
fantasies.
I love it. Nice. Emrys, anything
I'm
to
not
shout out?
sure there's anything left for me to shout out.
Gosh.
We're going to be very busy on social media over February.
Tons of stuff scheduled.
Yeah, zines and events, and yeah, just keep interacting with us because we've got loads on. So
Yeah. Nice. Alice, you want to wrap us up with anything super, super important? Or any life romance updates?
Yeah, well, maybe not suitable for the podcast.
Oh my gosh. Tune into our After Dark episodes where Alice tells us all about what's going on in her life. Okay, well, if there's no better way, I think, to wrap up than whatever mystery is left in our heads after that. So thank you for listening, everyone. Find all our social medias in the description and follow us. And we cannot wait to see you again. Spoiler alert, the next one is going to be a little Valentine's focused. So we actually will get some Alice stories. So be on the lookout for our next podcast episode. Everyone say bye.
Bye.
Bye.